Right, good afternoon. My name is Jason Ishii, Chairperson of the Authority. I would like to now call to order the August 2nd, 2023 Kalaeloa Authority meeting of the Hawaii Community Development Authority, and the time is now 10:38. 11:38. Sorry, 11:30. I keep on saying 10.
Long day. Thank you, Chair. In accordance with section 92-3.7 Hawaii Revised Statutes, the Hawaii Community Development Authority is holding today's Kalaeloa Board meeting virtually on Zoom. The Zoom link details were included on the meeting agenda. Therefore, members of the public are welcome to join us on Zoom and also at our physical meeting site at the American Brewery Building, 547 Queen Street, second floor boardroom, Honolulu, Hawaii 96813. The HCDA communications staff is hosting this meeting. Once this meeting begins, everyone will be muted for clearer audio. Board members, if you have any comments or questions, please unmute yourselves to speak. This is a public virtual meeting, so to prevent any distractions, if you are not a board member, staff member, or HCDA's Attorney General, please turn off your video during the meeting. If you are providing public testimony, your name will be called accordingly. Please turn your video on, clearly state your name and affiliation, and proceed with your testimony. When you are finished, please turn off your video. In accordance with section 92-3.7C Hawaii Revised Statutes, if the authority's connection for the remote meeting is lost, the meeting will be recessed until the connection is restored. If the connection cannot be restored within 30 minutes, the meeting will be terminated and the authority will continue the meeting at another notice date. Thank you, Chair.
ACDA board members, please remain visible and audible during the meeting. Also, please acknowledge that you're present by either saying here or present. Let the record reflect the following members are present. Vice Chair Higa.
Present.
Secretary Paul.
Present.
Member Johnson.
Present.
Member Anderson.
Present.
Evans.
Present.
Member Ray.
Do we have quorum? We have 1, 2, 3, 6. We have quorum.
Okay. Something wrong with the system? What's that song? Okay. We do have quorum. For today's meeting, board members will have an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments after an agenda item has been presented. Individuals from the public who have requested to provide verbal public testimony on a specific agenda item are on standby and will be permitted into the meeting respectively. First thing on the agenda is the regular meeting minutes of June 7, 2023. Board members, are there any comments or corrections to these minutes? If there's no comments or questions, the minutes are approved as presented.
Hi, Chair. This is Kelly again. Just noting we should add the YouTube link onto this one as well.
Yeah.
Yes, this meeting is not being streamed on YouTube. Unfortunately, our account has been suspended due to an act that occurred earlier.
So we're gonna have to work on it, Kelly. It's something we're gonna work on.
That's fine. So when it's available, we can just add to the minutes.
Thank you. All right, so item number 2, decision making. Consider authorizing the executive director to accept conveyance from the state of Hawaii Department of Transportation of 2 remnant road parcels located in the Kalaeloa Community Development District. No postal address, pursuant to the certain memorandum of understanding dated July 25, 2016 by and among the Hawaii Community Development Authority, HCDA, State of Hawaii, Department of Transportation, DOT, and the City and County of Honolulu, and to dispose of 2 remnant road parcels to the abutting property owner Hunt Development for a fair market value established by an independent appraiser pursuant to Chapter 171 Hawaii Revised Statutes for cash and or other valuable consideration, and 3, terminate the memorandum of understanding. Mr. Gatsasaki will now present ACDA's Staff report,
Chair,
Executive
I'll
Director Creed.
present that.
Okay,
Thank you. We did a audible at the last minute. Switch, yeah. So, thank you, Chair. The staff report for this item is in packet, tab 2 of your packet. And this was an item that was presented to the board, for information a couple meetings ago. And it is a matter that I believe, with respect to Hunt and HCDA and DOT, just needs to be, cleared up, and resolved. The MOU addressed a concern back in 2016 that there were different kind of road standards applicable to the roads in Kalaeloa. So the MOU tried to address that by establishing sort of city and county standards to be applied to really two roads in Kalaeloa. One was a portion of West Perimeter Road. And then the other was really all of Enterprise from West Perimeter Road to, all of FDR from West Perimeter Road to Enterprise, okay? During the intervening years from 2016 to now, there have been discussions with Hunt about conveying the West Perimeter parcel and also the a portion of FDR from West Perimeter Road to the Kamokila extension. Now, that just represents a part of FDR that's a subject of this MOU. I believe we have come to an agreement with Hunt on the disposal of those two parcels at a fair market value of $2,770,000, subject to going to the DLNR land board to get approval of the disposal of these remnant parcels. Now, the agenda item was agendized as item 3 as terminate the memorandum of understanding. My apologies, but I think this MOU has to still be retained. And instead of terminating, I would suggest, and the motion has to be probably revised to modify the MOU. And the reason it has to be modified is there are road standards in there that apply to the remainder of FDR that I think need to be keep being memorialized in this MOU until such time as there's some other kind of agreement that governs the road standard for FDR. Chair, I'm open to questions, and the DOT's representative, member Miranda Johnson is on this call too, so she may have questions.
okay, is there any questions for the staff report or comments?
Here, Ishii.
Yes,
So I note that the conveyance from the US Navy is to HCDA rather than to the state of Hawaii. Does that change the nature of the ownership? And if it is, if it does require land board approval, is there an EO involved or not?
So on this matter, member Evans, the remnant parcels, the conveyance would come from the Department of Transportation because they are the owners of these remnant parcels.
I see.
Yeah, and then I think what you're referring to, the Navy conveyance, is the next item on the agenda, the public benefit conveyance. But this particular item, it would be a DOT conveyance to HCDA and then a simultaneous conveyance to Hunt, provided we can get the land board's approval to dispose of these portions as remnant parcels.
Okay, thank you. That answers my question, Chair.
thank you. Is there any other comments or questions on this staff report?
Chair. Chair. Member
Yes,
Johnson,
Member- Yes, Member
Sorry.
Johnson.
just because of the conveyance coming from the DOT, I'll be abstaining on the vote for this matter, if that's okay with you. To avoid
Okay.
any conflict.
Okay, I think we
Okay,
say
thank you. So noted. Members, are there any other questions or comments? Any public testimony?
There's a question from the community. Is the land being conveyed to Hunt?
Yeah, I can answer that question.
Sure.
So if the DLNR board approves the conveyance as a remnant parcel conveyance, then these remnants will be conveyed to fund for fair market value consideration.
Cole has a question.
Okay. Yes. There's a question.
Yes, aloha. Uluko Johnson from Honokai Hale, and I don't know if this is the correct time, but is it possible to discuss the other parcels, or is that gonna come next? Or is just this only on the road parcels?
Yeah, Uluko, if I may, this agenda, I think the one you might be interested in referring to is the next agenda item.
Okay, Kalamai, all right, thanks.
No problem. Thank you.
Any other public testimony? If not, members, is there any other further questions or comments? Do I have a motion for the board to authorize the executive director for one, accept conveyance from the state of Hawaii Department of Transportation of 2 remnant road parcels located in the Kalaeloa Community Development District, no postal address, pursuant to the certain memorandum of understanding dated July 25, 2016, by and among the Hawaii Community Development Authority, HCDA, State of Hawaii Department of Transportation, DOT, and the City and County of Honolulu. And 2, dispose of the 2 remnant road parcels to the abutting property owner, Hunt Development, for fair market value established by an independent appraiser pursuant to Chapter 171 Hawaii Revised Statutes for cash and or other valuable consideration. And 3, modify the memorandum of understanding. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
It's moved by Member Evans. Do I have a second? Do I have a second?
Second.
Member Uphold seconds.
The Secretary of Poll seconds. Garrett, Executive Director Nakamura, can you take the roll call?
Thank you, Chair. On the motion made by Member Evans and seconded by Member Poe. Secretary of Poe,
Aye.
Member Evans,
Aye.
Chair Ishii,
Yes.
Vice Chair Higa. Vice Chair Higa.
Aye.
Member Anderson,
Yes.
Member Hirai is excused. Member Ray. Excused. Chair, the motion passes with 5 yeses, no nos, 1 abstain by Member Miranda Johnson and 2 excused.
Okay, motion passes. Next item on the agenda is for only information and discussion. Public benefit conveyance of the United States of America acting by and through the Department of Navy to the Hawaii Community Development Authority pursuant to the 1993 base realignment and closure process of the Naval Facilities Engineering Systems Command Pacific or certain Navy-owned parcels located in the Hawaii Community Development Authority's Kalaeloa Community Development District. described as the Northern Track and Skeet Range, tax map key TMK number 910130039, Southern Track and Skeet Range, TMK number 910130042, and Orty Pond, TMK number 910130041, parcels, no street addresses, totaling approximately 213 acres. Mr. Ryan Tam, Planning and Development Director, will now present the ACDA staff report, right?
Again, good, I guess we're still in the morning. Chair Shi and board members. Again, in the interest of time, I'll try to make this brief. I did want to acknowledge, however, again, the excellent help and work from one of our staff members, Ms. Janet Blitnikoff, who's over the last many months, she's really educated me on these issues, especially here in Kalaeloa, Again, the background, and we did provide a staff report. We did have some modifications to the staff report, which I think we will provide or will provide to the board members. We did get some additional information from the US Navy. And we just wanted to clarify some items in there. And so we got an additional report, which wasn't in our files. That's a 2020 Orty Pond finding of suitability to transfer addendum. So we got that. And we just want to clarify kind of the circular recommendations for Orty Pond in there. So we'll provide those. Let me just briefly, again, we're talking about the northern and southern Skeets and Orty Ponds. This is all the area, if you're looking at the aerial that's on the screen, this is the area to the right, to the east of the two runways, beyond the triangle. So this is, again, the east side of the district. Next slide, see if it works. Okay. And so here's an aerial. Again, the dashed red line is the district boundary outline. We're talking about the three parcels that are outlined in yellow on this. Altogether, it's close to 213 acres. And this was identified in the base realignment and closure process. Originally was going to go to some other agencies, they passed on it, and then for a while it's been HCDA has been considering it. Again, this is a land ownership map. I'll go into a little more detail on the parcels in a minute, but just to give you some visuals to think about. One is on these parcels is the habitat considered critical habitat for the Akoko, which is an endangered plant listed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So that's the image on the left. Orty Pond is the image on the right. This is a view from a Humble Star Advertiser photo. It's about a 1 acre sinkhole that's about 10,000 years old. And again, we've I guess the Native Hawaiians had used these sinkholes or just like fish ponds, right? So they use it for sustenance. And they were kind of thriving ecosystems. The Navy was using it for ordnance disposal, hence the name Orty Pond. Next, previously, this site was these parcels were being considered, portions of these parcels were being considered for use for photovoltaic power energy generation. And again, these PV panels. Could be on poles elevated above the ground. Or either on driven piles or on ballasted foundation. So that's kind of potential use of this site. And now just kind of a little closer view on these parcels. In yellow, you can see the boundaries. Again, the northern skeet, that's about close to 146 acres. That's the large parcel on the top. The southern skeet, that's about 58 acres, and then Orty Ponds, 9 acres. Again, we call them skeets because they were formerly used as skeet and trap ranges for training during the World War II. And again, they because they were used as these training ranges, a lot of the shells fell onto the ground, and so the soil was contaminated. The Navy over the years spent several $1 million to remediate these sites. And again, the summary of the more detail is in the staff report. The northern skeet was cleaned up for unremediated use, so it's cleared for residential. The southern skeet, that's the smaller, the middle medium-sized rectangle. Most of the parcel is actually cleared for unrestricted use, but they did have to enact what they call land use controls. So these are fenced off areas where they didn't want to disturb any of the archaeological features, so they weren't able to remove the soil or remediate it. So there are some restrictions on that site associated with the Comprehensive Environmental Response Compensation and Liability Act, so that's CERCLA. And then the last one, Orty Pond, that's the small pond that showed the photo that's on the left. That one, they had a recommendation for what they called no further action. That was in 2007. The risks are unacceptable only when the pond sediments are exposed to the surface. So as long as you don't disturb it, it's okay. I have another, I wasn't able to make a slide, but we were just recently in this study that we just got from the Navy, showed some of the ordinance or features that they weren't able to identify or safely remediate at that time. So some of those have been located, but are still in the pond. So again, the site, the pond can only be used for conservation or open space. They don't allow recreational housing or school uses, and it needs to be fenced in to provide unauthorized use. So in 2011, 2012, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service designated 166 of these acres as critical habitat for the Okoko. Based on that, they designated the central about 100 acres for a conservation area for the Okoko. So that's the area that doesn't have any hatched in the center of the screen. So that the hatched areas actually show areas where photovoltaic panels or other support utilities could be developed. And again, the red dots show the areas that were where they found cocoa plants in the 2021 survey. So the kind of the big, I guess in summary, kind of the big picture, this site, there are some liabilities that are associated with it, you know, again, CERCLA, contamination, the conservation of the plant, the cocoa plant, but there's also a lot of opportunities that could be gained with the kind of remainder of the site. So it's close to, you know, close to 100 acres outside of this conservation area. And so the Navy is again looking to complete the base closure process. So they're looking to dispose of this land either to, if HCDA passes on it, it would go, they would look at other agencies or potentially put it up for auction. I don't know if Director Nakamura wants to add.
Any other comments, questions?
Thank you, Ryan. Again, also want to acknowledge Ryan because, you know, when I first became the ED, this was one of the matters that I wanted to sort of bring to a closure. I think in my mind, at least at that time, the liabilities associated with CERCLA and the cleanup efforts, which the Navy has done mostly on the northern ski, but there are some remains, you know, areas that they couldn't clean up on the southern ski. Of course, there's Orty Pond. And in my view, at that time was the potential liability associated with owning these properties, at least overshadow the benefits. Now, I think the question for the board and in these three parcels is, does the possible benefits of using this property for as some kind of a preserve, cultural preserve, historical preserve, and maybe even photovoltaic uses outweigh the potential liabilities associated with these properties. Past administrations of Hawaii Community Development Authority kind of looked at these three parcels and their vision was to create this photovoltaic plant or farm with the revenues from the ground lease supporting the preservation of the akoko, the endangered species. That's how I think people looked at it to make it, you know, pencil out and work, because otherwise there is no funded, the preservation of cocoa, if we took these properties on, would be an unfunded responsibility. So we'd have to find a revenue source or find a suitable and qualified entity that would be willing to take on the preservation of this. Now, if we could do that, I think it would be a significant community benefit that we could have in the Kalaeloa, you know, community development district, possibly photovoltaic grid, preservation of the cocoa, preservation of the area, and possibly even, you know, getting federal funds, cleanup funds to clean up Orty Pond. Navy couldn't complete that work because of the mangrove, but if there was adequate federal funds, maybe the Orty Pond could be cleaned up, so where it would become a community benefit. So that's my thoughts, Chair.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions or comments on the staff report?
Chair,
Yes.
has DOT airports provided comment on what they would, what kinds of uses they might recommend restricted, since it's at the end of the runways? I'm thinking of the glint and glare from a photovoltaic farm might be something that they would be concerned about.
Member Evans, it's a good question. We have not consulted with DOTA, but if the plans are to, you know, put in place some kind of photovoltaic, you know, farm, I think we'd have to consult with DOTA.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Member Evans. Anyone else? Comments? Vice Chair Higa.
My question is, what is the timeline on this? So, like, this is an information only session. So, like, how soon potentially is the Navy planning to, you know, divest themselves of this land? And then what is the sort of order of succession if HCDA passes on it? And then the third question, I know I'm cramming a bunch together, is there any possibility of doing some sort of like 3-part deal with a private entity? It seems like a lot to take on this parcel, given that, you know, there's no guarantee that it's suitable for habitation or any other productive use, but there is a guarantee that it will cost, as estimated in the staff report, $100,000 to $300,000 a year to maintain. Sorry, this is a bunch. The last thing just to note is if the Navy spent 1.35 million on cleanup so far, does that include this sort of conservation, or was that a separate budget? Because that would indicate that whatever they have spent on the cleanup would only be adequate to maintain this parcel for 13 years, which to my mind indicates that there's probably going to be a much more significant investment in this property required than we would predict initially.
Okay, thank you, Member Higa. I'll try to kind of answer those questions in order. I think, as to the timeline, the Navy, through their branch office in San Diego, has been working on this, for quite a while. These 3 parcels plus and the around 400 acres that is designated to be conveyed to the city Parks and Recreation for park use is, I think, one of the remaining sort of public benefit conveyance parcels left in Kalaeloa. As far as timeline, the Navy is sort of finishing up that biological assessment related to, the impacts on the cocoa and the critical habitats. They've been working with U.S. Fish and Wildlife on getting their sort of concurrence, but it's taken a long time. So as far as timeline, I can't really say when they're going to be ready. Plus, there could be other issues that could arise as part of this, the Navy's conveyance process. In terms of succession, if HCDA passes on these 3 properties, I had heard that City Parks and Rec might be interested in it, although I haven't heard anything more definitive than just their thoughts about it. As Brian mentioned, if we pass on it, it's possible that these parcels could go out to public auction and go to some third party, some other party. And I'm not sure, and they would probably have the same covenants and restrictions to take care of the cocoa, but I'm not sure that party would maintain the same level of preservation and conservation that maybe a nonprofit or some other entity might do.
Does that answer your question?
And yes, just one follow-up question. Is there a possibility of splitting up this? Is this a package, or do we have the option to purchase 1 or 2 of the parcels rather than all?
Yeah, I asked our Navy NAVFAC contact if this could be a kind of a one parcel by parcel transaction, and he conveyed to me that it's all or nothing. It's all or nothing. And of course, the parcel that gives me the most pause for concern is Forty Pond, because of the munitions and ordnance in there. And I think to answer your other question, Member Higa, I think there's a possibility that there could be a collaboration, a multi-agency, collaboration to steward these 3 properties. For example, DLNR could, work with an agency like HCDA or someone to steward this, or with a nonprofit. So there's possibilities, and also work with U.S. Fish and Wildlife.
Here,
Sorry.
HCDA does have experience with the Hei'a district, which is also not suitable for intensive industrial mixed or residential use. So this isn't unique to HCDA's portfolio of properties. Just a thought. Thank you, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Member Evans. In the discussions I've had with Janice and Ryan, and even with the Navy facilities person, the analogies to Hei'a comes up quite often. And you're right, it is a district that's that's unlike our other districts, where it's not like Kaka'ako or Kalaeloa, but it's a district where, we have Kako'iwi as a long-term lessee to kind of steward the land and preserve the land instead of developing it. So I think your comment is very appropriate.
Thank you. Member Higa, do you have additional questions?
Yeah, I mean, initially, right, I think more information is necessary, but I think this deal seems bad. Like, if the Navy is saying, you know, you can only have this as a package deal, I think we really need to examine the true costs of, you know, remediation or conservation of the parcel that they're trying to, right? So there are three parts of this package. One of them really sucks. The other two might be good. I don't necessarily trust this estimate of 100,000 to 300,000 per year. HCDA is a precedent. Like, first, I don't know that HCDA under the original charter of HCDA is something that should have been included in HCDA's remit of responsibility. And the second thing is the costs that we're talking about here are, as far as I know, significantly more than we expend in HCDA on an annual basis. And it's a much smaller area.
Yeah, you know, so I don't disagree, you know, significantly with your comments, member Higa. I think, you know, cost is a factor. The potential continuing liability under CERCLA is an issue. But as far as HCDA, I mean, what I would say about HCDA is that it is a different district, but and it's not like Kakako where we're doing, you know, promoting that kind of development. But part of our mission in a charter, I believe, is community, building a community. And we, you know, build a community in Kakako, we're trying to build a community in Kalaeloa, and then build a community in Pulehunui. So I believe that while he is different, we're still trying, the commonality is that we're still trying to build a community there in the Hiei district. And we're doing that through Kakoivi as a steward. So, you know, thank you, member Higa.
Thank you very much. I do have my reservations on this particular item, and I think that's why we wanted to open it up to discussion and information. I think it's gonna take a lot more discussion going forward for future meetings. Yes. Any other comments? Board members? If not, we'll go to public testimony. We will accept testimony in the following order: persons who signed up prior to the meeting date, persons present in the physical location, and persons online in the Zoom meeting. Keep in mind, please hold your comments or questions, public testimony to 3 minutes. First testimony is Ulukoa.
Hey, aloha again. Thank you for allowing the public to speak. Thank you for your mission of being for the community and trying to create a place of community. Again, I'm from Honokai Hale. I'm the Kumuhula of Halaukiapu Ponokoa. We have two organizations, also Malama'ai and Malamakai. One is Ka'uike Kopo, the other is Ho'ola Hani'o. We take care of the cultural sites and also an endangered plant sanctuary in Kalaeloa, the fishing shrine in agreement with Ko'olina, and the fishery off of the coast there. We're working with DLNR. I just wanted to say that we're very, very interested in helping you all and helping the community in cleaning up Gordy Pond. Taking care of the okoko. We know that this is a tall order. You're mentioning federal funds. I like to also say that there are international funds. I go oftentimes to the UN. There's funds from the climate action, climate change talks. There's funds for sustainable development, also biodiversity conferences, and they want to help. They want to help clean up. The alternative is to not clean it up and to pass it on. And yes, it's a headache. I agree with board member Higa. It's you know, it sounds like a bad deal, but let's turn it into a good deal and make it good for the community. Can you imagine if these archaeological sites go to some unknown entity, and what would be the future of that? I'm also an archaeologist, by the way. I work with SHIPD. I've been working with them for over a dozen years. So I'm, as far as the ordinance, I'm a combat veteran. I'm still in the Hawaii Guard, and so I understand the critical aspect of UXOs, but we have UXOs crews. Let's get them in there. Let us try and do the work, find the grant money. I photovoltaic, doing some kind of collaboration, if it's allowed by the airport. Let's do that. I'm all for that. But I'm saying we're interested, and give us a chance if we can talk story, figure out if there's a way that we can collaborate and make this work. We are of the community, from this community, and want to take care. So that's all. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else on the Zoom meeting or that would like to give public testimony? No? If not, members, are there any other additional comments or questions?
Just a comment, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Yeah, this gets back to the question of our capacity. And I'm basically agreeing with a couple of previous comments. What is our capacity to take on more properties? Particularly if it's going to require some budget ramifications. And in the long run, what about our staffing, et cetera, et cetera. So that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Paul.
Thank you, Member Cole.
Any other questions or comments? If not, again, this is informational and discussion only, and we will be revisiting it at a later date.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, the next on agenda, report of the executive director, monthly report and other status report, approved permit applications that did not require HRS 26E-5.6 public hearings. Craig Nakamoto, executive director, will now present the monthly report.
Hi, thank you, Chair. The monthly report is in your packet as tab 4. Because of the late hour, I won't go into details, but it's in the report, and I'm here to for questions.
Members, are there any questions or comments for Executive Director Nakamoto on the executive report? If not, is there any public testimony on this? No. If not, thank you for those who joined us on Zoom, in person, via YouTube. This concludes our business for the day, and the meeting is adjourned. The time is now 12:20. Thank you.
Aloha.
Oh, thank you.